7.5 advantage in the NFC West.
Rather bizarre, if that indeed is the case, and also quite sick. It really is when you consider the one person, whether it be for real or not, and in most cases they obviously not. You have to take the protective measures, of course, but cause such displeasure for Tom, family, everyone here, who has been a very good crowd. It is sick.
This takes one. First down from the 40.
Hey, Jack.
Slings it out to Tony Dorsett. And Dorsett stays in bounds out at the 48-yard line, run down by Sean Miller, and the clock keeps ticking down toward a Rams victory. And the Rams remain here next week to play Miami. Then they go to San Francisco. And if they beat Miami next week, they will wrap up the NFC West. Ballure nearly picked off, intended for Cosby, and Jerry Gray came that close to an interception.
For Dallas, almost eliminated. You can't say that mathematically they are totally out of it. But even had they won tonight, down the road is Philadelphia playing tough. Then Chicago.
Third down and 2 now. Ball at the 48-yard line. 29-10 LA. And Ballure gets sacked at the 47-yard line.
Again, good coverage. Mickey Sutton was back there. Tony Hill, the intended receiver, was well covered by Mickey Sutton. Ballure had his eyes glued on Tony Hill. No options. And this will bring up fourth down.
And we'll be in Seattle tomorrow night.
Hopefully.
Big one in the AFC West. Guess the Raiders got in ahead of the fog. Raiders against the Seahawks at 9 Eastern time.
Well, it's been tough sledding up there for the Raiders. Last few visits. What have they lost? 4 straight there now?
Haven't won since '81. 4th and 4 from the shotgun as Ballure fires and keeps the drive alive on a pass to Timmy Newsome, who scored the only Dallas touchdown tonight in the first half. So the Cowboys keep their very faint hopes alive with 3:57 to play now.
Giants all alone now at the NFC East. They have St. Louis and Green Bay to contend with. They have a 1-game lead now over the Redskins.
Ballure, one-hand screen grab by Dorsett to the 40. You wonder about the other Cowboy quarterbacks. Reggie Collier is exciting, but unproven and untested. The other quarterback, Paul McDonald. Through the hands of Renfro. Third down. We're getting the information now that the situation is this. A series of telephone threats were received by authorities, and it was deemed they were serious enough to take Landry to the locker room, and it was evaluated there and investigated, and after doing such, it was determined by Landry himself to return to the field. So they told Tom what the situation was, and it was his choice to come back, and obviously under very tight security. Third down and 5 from the 40. And a first down as Sherrard makes the catch, the #1 draft choice. And they keep moving.
Obviously, there is no comment on the vest, but we feel certain there is one because he is in a totally different uniform than when he left the field. You wouldn't suspect any different from Tom Landry, one of the youngest bomber pilots in in World War II. Flew over 30 missions at the age of 18 years old. Remarkable man. It's just kind of sad, and it is saddening. I think this can even happen in sport. This is a football game. Must be some sort of perspective somewhere.
1st and 10 from the 34-yard line as Pallure throws for Sherrard, and he's tackled at the 13-yard line by Tim Fox, and we're down to 3:09 to play the fourth.
Now, if there is one bright spot, it has to be this youngster, Sherrard, who missed almost all of the training camp. Great receiver at UCLA, hurt his knee in training camp, missed all of that, and has come back to make spectacular plays week in and week after week. He is going to be a very exceptional outside receiver.
For Sherrard again, and at the 1-yard line, apparently an interception. And it is ruled as such by Mickey Sutton. Sutton on his back and somehow, some way coming up with it. And Diassi says, how?
And the nightmare continues for Pallure. Sutton now a couple of big plays defensively for the Rams. Let's take a look at it again. Sherrard, when you're down there tight near that goal line, you don't have to take that drop because obviously the field is shortened as you get in close, and it was played well by Sutton and right into his hands. Look at Sherrard. He's scrappy. He's battling. He makes the stop.
And so the celebration can begin for Sutton and the Rams as they have it at their own 6-yard line. 2:39 to play in the fourth. And White is in the game. And the former Heisman Trophy winner takes the ball out to the 8-yard line, and the Cowboys calling for a timeout. Bill Bates wants to stop the clock.
Charlie doesn't get in there very often. He forgot the snap count. Leaned up there and said, what is it? What is it? He's been a great contributor to this Ram team. And Dills, who has replaced Everett for the closing minutes, comes over to talk with John Robinson. Tough on a Heisman Award winner, and we've got 3 of them playing here tonight. Charlie White, former Heisman Award winner, USC, played for John Robinson. Went to Cleveland, there for 4 years. Never really developed into what he had been at USC. Had a lot of personal problems. Came out here, released, as a matter of fact. John Robinson picked him up again, and he's done that with a lot of his former players. And Charlie White has taken this role seriously. He plays on the special teams. He gives it every effort, every opportunity he has. And yet he must look out there, Al, and see Herschel Walker and Tony Dorsett and think of what might have been.
The way it started, Cowboys picking up Walker, and a breath of fresh air for them, and the way they began the season with a scintillating victory over the New York Giants. And how long ago does that seem? And think about this, the Giants, as this season has now completed, or is in the process of completing week 14, the Giants have only lost twice, once to Dallas and the other time to Seattle.
You know, and Tom points distinctly to that second Giants game as where they were really hurt. They were beaten there by a field goal. The next week they lost to the Raiders by 4 points. That's where he said it all started to happen and fall apart.
This play fell apart before the snap as flags were down. And now there are all kinds of flags down as Randy White gets into a little bit of an altercation with Tony Slayton.
Frustrating year, it has to be. 6-2 start, and then the fall apart.
And the Cowboys, historically, at least in recent times, have not played well toward the end of a season. They start out quickly, and of course now that they are one of the more elderly clubs in the NFL, there's no reason to suspect they would play any better toward the end of the year, and that's been borne out in the last 3 weeks.
We have offsetting fouls. False start, 5 yards. Personal foul number 54. It's a 5 and a 15. The 15 yards will be penalized, and number 54 is disqualified for unsportsmanlike conduct.
The name of the game is football, but it doesn't mean you can kick your opponent, and that's what White did to Slayton, and that's why he gets ejected.
Very emotional player, Randy White, now in his 12th year, and that time just got out of line, and he's out of the ball game. Great Pro Bowls, that is. They brought him up as a #1 draft pick 12 years ago. Al, they experimented and played around with him as a linebacker. And he was not a linebacker, but he's turned into one of the greats of all time at defensive tackle. Edging up there closer to 34 years of age, however, and a 16-game season. Throw in the fact that the Cowboys played 5 preseason games. They had that extra one when they played over in London. It's been a long, tough year.
Funny year, too. Remember how bad the Cowboys looked in preseason? They went 0-5, and there was a good deal of concern. But then a brilliant beginning to the year as White takes the give and gets out to the 25, and the Cowboys again want to stop the clock here, so they take another timeout on defense as we come down close to the 2-minute warning. Precisely 2:21 left in the game. And the Cowboys will try to stop the Rams, force them to kick, and then see what they can do. But the mountain is like Everest when you're down by 19. Al Michaels and Frank Gifford in Anaheim. Rams comfortably ahead, and the Rams at their own 25-yard line on a 2nd down and 8 with 2:21 to play in the 4th period. Steve Dills spelling Jim Everett, who had a good night, and Charles White, and again that play was whistled dead before it began, so the game degenerates here after it had been crisply and cleanly played.
Different people in there and timing off. We're going to get a lot of calls.
Start. Number 67. Play was killed. Still be 2nd down.
That's one of
5-yard
them.
penalty.
That's one of them. Duval Love. And he just doesn't play that much, as Robinson giving some of the regulars a little bit of a break. But when you look at this Ram team, you can see a team that is a much better football team than they were 3 weeks ago. And that is when they finally got around to putting Jim Everett in there. It isn't only that he's a good quarterback and going to be, in all probability, a great one. He is going to make it so much easier for Eric Dickerson to run. When you can throw the football, you can run the football. And when you can run it, and the Rams can do that, you also can throw it.
White on 2nd and 13 struts his stuff out to the 31-yard line, stopped by Jim Jeffcoat. And Dallas will spend its final timeout here, or will they? They don't have to. 2-minute warning. Though, even though the 2-minute warning is shown by the clock, Tunney had pointed that the Cowboys are charged with a timeout. Insult to injury. We'll be back. Meanwhile, let's keep it here for the moment as security continues to perform its function. Tunney had called for the timeout, and then one of the other officials came over and had said we've already reached the 2-minute warning.
I think they're going to charge it with him, Al.
It looked like it.
They're running the clock back.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're taking the clock back to 2:04. So the clock had been stopped, and Dallas had taken its last timeout. And when play resumes, it'll be 3rd down and 2.
And the clock will be stopped for the 2-minute warning.
And if the Rams can pick up a 1st down on this play, then we'll have the 2-minute warning, and then we'll have a couple of plays, and you can all go night-night. (29-10) Rams. Third and 2. First down and a lot more. It takes it out to the 49-yard line, and the 2-minute warning. So 1:58 remaining in the 4th. 29-10 Rams. Rams on top by a score of 29-10 with 1:58 to play in the 4th quarter at Anaheim Stadium. Rams on the verge of going 10-4, and the Cowboys will be at 7-7.
And the Rams can tick this all off.